Children get cancer. Even animals get cancer. The first question that most parents often ask is, why my child? What did we do to deserve this? There's almost certainly nothing that you or your child could have done to cause the cancer. It's just bad luck.
This was Camille 4 months before diagnosis. When we were told Camille had a brain tumour, we were in hospital. We'd been in for a few days at that point. We knew it was something very serious. I don't think we knew it was a brain tumour, because I think for a parent the worst illness you can ever consider is a brain tumour. And they called us into a room, and I knew as we walked towards the room, I knew it was probably a brain tumour. And the moment they told us, it's odd because, you know, you can't believe it. It's just the worst news you will ever receive. But there was also, weirdly, a sense of relief that we knew what it was, and that, you know, we could work to make her better. But obviously you're told that, and you do think it's a death sentence. And, you know, my husband, who never cries, broke down, whereas I was more, I think I was just in a daze, to be honest.
I think when families first find out a diagnosis, they may experience a wide range of differing emotions, a kind of kaleidoscope of emotions, from the shock of this being their reality and what they're going to have to face. Some families I've even spoken to have felt a small sense of relief because they now know what they're going to have to face and they now know what's going on. And I feel a whole wide range of emotions is totally normal and expected, not something to beat ourselves up about. It's something that you will adjust to, it's something that you're going to fight, it's something that you're going to now start a very long journey on. However, we are human beings, and as parents particularly, it's a very difficult place to be.
Hayley was not in a good place to see scans or to speak about it in any great detail. So my father decided that he'd come along and try and support me. Unfortunately, he wasn't much support, because he fainted as soon as the scans came up on screen, and literally had to lay on a bed in the room while I spoke very candidly with a neurosurgeon about all the horrible possibilities for the future, and at that point, because it was so big, it didn't look very good.
Childhood cancer is far more common than you may believe. 1 in every 285 children will get cancer. But with early diagnosis and treatment, the survival rates are pretty good for most types of cancer. So what is cancer? Well, cancer is a disease of the cells in the body. You may be surprised to know that a cancer cell is actually quite like a normal cell. It has simply lost the ability to control when it divides. So a single out-of-control cell multiplies over and over until large numbers of them build up, forming a lump known as a tumour. The damage is usually caused because the tumour gets in the way of the other cells around it, preventing them carrying out their normal function. There are 2 types of tumour. Benign tumours are self-contained, so their cells do not invade the surrounding tissue or spread around the body. This means that although they can grow very large and press on healthy organs and tissues, they cannot spread into other tissues. Usually, they can simply be removed. Malignant tumours, on the other hand, have cells that are able to branch out and invade the surrounding tissue, causing local damage. In addition, their cells can break off and spread around the body, setting up new tumours in other places. These tumours are therefore harder to treat, and someone with a malignant tumour is said to have cancer.
When Michaela first got poorly, I thought my whole world had been smashed. It took a while for her to have a diagnosis. I remember talking to the doctors, saying that there was something not quite right about this little girl. I was being fobbed off quite a lot. Her eyesight didn't seem right to me. We had lots of eye tests, but they all kept saying, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. Then we finally got an appointment at the John Radcliffe Hospital to have an eye test done by their specialist. and it was about 5:30 of the evening, the actual test, and the doctor that looked at the back of Michaela's eyes couldn't see to the back of Michaela's eyes. So he was trying to find somebody else that time of night to have a second look. He managed to find somebody. This was at 7:15 of the night time. We had the MRI that night. The following day we was called up for the results to be told that she has got a large mass tumour to the back of the eyes. Tumour, that's the first thing I thought, cancer. Oh my God, they're talking cancer. My husband thought I were going bananas. No, it's nothing as big as that.
Danielle first became poorly December 2007. Numb, I think, is how I felt. Angry as well. Upset, confused. Just about everything. I don't know. I still don't know how I felt, to be honest with you, but numb is probably the best thing the best way I can describe it.
The devastating news that my child has got cancer. I didn't even know children had cancer, let alone my daughter having cancer.
Cancer is like a little lump in your head, or like leukemia. If cancer is just a word or a lump, or both.
When Tyler was first ill, he was 12, and he had what became sort of what we thought was migraine type symptoms. Severe vomiting overnight and really, really bad headaches. So I took him to the GP, and they gave him migraine medication, but pretty quickly I thought, no migraine does that to you.
We were going to our GP, and of course it wasn't migraines, but they kept telling us it was, so that I was getting all this medication saying it was migraines.
After the MRI scan, they said, we just want to put some dye in. Can you pop up to the ward, and they'll put a cannula in. And when we got to the ward, the consultant was at the door to meet us. And I saw him, and I just knew life was going to change. It was never going to be the same again.
MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, is a technique that uses a magnetic field and radio waves to create detailed images of the organs and tissues within your body. The magnetic field temporarily lines up hydrogen atoms in your body. The radio waves then cause these aligned atoms to produce very faint signals, which are used to create cross-sectional MRI images, like slices in a loaf of bread. Having an MRI doesn't hurt one bit, although they can be rather loud. Unlike CT scanning or general X-rays, no radiation is involved with an MRI.
They said it was going to take 3 hours. 12 hours later, she was still in theatre. Myself and my husband, we didn't talk to one another for the whole of this time. We didn't know what to say to one another. We had to sign paperwork to say that she might die in theatre, and thinking, oh my God, this is it, she's gone. The surgeon finally come out, and he shook his head, which we thought at this point we'd lost her, which was very scary. Obviously we didn't lose Michaela. He shook his head because he could only remove 15% in 12 hours of theatre. Then to be told at that point she's going to need intense chemotherapy, which is going to be an 85-week course of chemo. I automatically assumed chemotherapy was chemotherapy, but didn't realise there's different combinations, different treatments for different types of cancers, different types of tumours. So there was a lot for myself and my husband to understand.
Chemotherapy is the use of anti-cancer drugs or chemicals to treat cancer. There are over 100 different types of chemotherapy drugs available. Chemotherapy is systemic, which means that the drugs flow through the bloodstream to nearly every part of the body, so that they can kill the cancer cells wherever they may be. Because some anti-cancer drugs work better together than alone, chemotherapy may consist of more than one drug. This approach is called combination chemotherapy. Depending on the type of cancer your child has and which drugs are used, chemotherapy may be given in a few different ways. By mouth, known as oral medication, or intravenously, known as IV.
When we see families who are newly diagnosed with a medical condition, it can help them begin to get out their fears, their worries for the future, their questions about all of the medical terminology that's going to come their way. The questions that they probably wouldn't ask their paediatrician, they may ask their nurse, but they probably won't ask their doctor, what does that really long word mean? So as a psychologist or mental health professional, if you're able to sit with a family, you may not have that knowledge either, but you can search for that together. You begin to kind of gain a relationship with professionals who aren't just talking about medical terminology with you. And you begin to kind of get your emotions out on the surface to help temper that journey you're going to go on. From my experience, the earlier that you seek support, the better people's journeys have been.
They discovered it wasn't migraines, and it was a brain tumour.
The mass that they'd found was very, very big, and they didn't think that they could delay surgery.
The next day I was rushed into surgery. And then the next day that time was probably the worst experience I've had with hospitals. There was wires and it was all a bit of a mess.
I do remember once when she was going up for an operation, she did say to me, "Mum, will I still be alive after the operation, or are they going to take it away and then I won't be alive anymore?" And what can you say to that really? It's just there's no answer. You just have to say, well, you know, they'll do the best that they can and you'll be okay. And that was the only time I think that she ever asked me anything where I was just lost for words. I just didn't know what to say to her because I couldn't make it right. It was awful.
I knew that I was going to have to try and be the strong one and try and filter out information. So I remember walking out of that particular meeting back into the ward where Camille and Hayley were, and my mum, and having to cut out most of the words that I'd heard and put a different spin on it and just try and make it a more positive meeting. You know, there's hope. And that was always what I tried to portray, that there was hope.
We may begin to feel overloaded. We can get to the stage where we feel we can't cope, and that's a normal feeling to have. But that's when we need to begin to bring in our family members, our close friends, talk it through, as hard as it is, and we become very conscious of not putting all our feelings on other people when we're feeling really bad, and that's a human condition. However, this is the time where it's your time to get some support, which is legitimate to find that support because you need to be there for your child. Extended family may not be as supportive as you. You've got to keep your energy up, you've got to keep going, and if you become withdrawn, upset, some people will experience perhaps suicidal thoughts. They can't see their life going on because they're concerned about what's going to happen in the future. That's where we also need to consult professionals. Go and see your GP, go and have a chat with them, help the professionals around you and the teams that may be caring for your child understand that, do you know what, as a mum, as a dad, as a sister, as a brother, grandparents even, I'm not coping with this. So please can you point me towards different support systems that are available for me at the time.
The cancer journey is a tough one. It's going to take a lot out of you and your family. You're going to have many questions and concerns. Don't be afraid to ask. If you would like further information on any matters raised in this film, please go to www.jossearchlight.org.uk.
Well, it means that, you got cancer. And we're going to beat it.